The Gila, and yes, that is how it's pronounced. It's named after the Gila monster, which is a North American lizard, is a very popular ship in EVE Online for a multitude of different purposes. For the longest time, I've flown it in abyssal dead spaces because it is a potently powerful ship for that, but it's also incredibly popular for Class 3 wormhole ratting. So, in today's video, that's what we're going to do, because I want to showcase everything there is about J-Space and different class systems, and how to rat them with a multitude of different ships. So, of course, with the Gila being a popular choice, it's about time that we addressed that. I'm going to take you through a fit that I'm using for this. It is a passive fit, and it has literally one button that you have to press other than warp and orbit and that kind of stuff. Literally one active module stack. How incredible is that? Like, genuinely, it would be boring if it weren't so novel. Ahoy there folks, I'm Captain Benzie, and the ship on screen in front of you is the Gila, the faction cruiser for the Guristas pirates. Now, ironically enough, having just given a lecture on how to pronounce Gila, I'm not actually certain I'm pronouncing Guristas right. Some people I've heard refer to it as Guristas, but to me that sounds remarkably close to barista, and I want to be thinking of a drone and missile cruiser wrecking the ever-living crap out of everything, not of getting my morning coffee at Starbucks or Costa or wherever, right? So I go with Guristas, but I'm sure there are going to be some people who complain, like a lot of you complain about how I say abyssal dead space rather than abyssal dead space, because it's just how I say it. These are just words, and if you want to call this the Gila, I'm going to look at you funny, but you're right, you're allowed to. Go for it. If it makes you feel awesome, do it. But in this video, I'm going to be referring to it as the Gila. I'm going to be showcasing how we can use this ship to run Class 3 combat anomalies, every single one of them, and how you can do that with a totally passive fit. The only button you have to press that is actively tied to a module is your stack of high slots. Other than that, it's just drone control and, you know, orbiting, and of course D-scan, because we're in J-Space, and D-scan, people. Seriously, D-scan. Anyway, if you do enjoy this video, or if you just feel sorry for me going through what is clearly a psychotic episode during the intro of this video, then drop a like. Let me know in the comment section down below how you pronounce those particular pirates led by the rabbit, and how you feel this fit works. I'm sure some of you have a better option as well. And if you do want to go the extra mile to help support this channel, keep me doing what I'm doing, and maybe send me to the therapy that I clearly so very need. I'm realizing slowly with the dawn of, like, you know, the sunrise coming over, just dawning on my mind, then you can do so by heading to my Patreon page, my PayPal tip jar, or my Redbubble merchandise store. I want to give a big thank you and shout out to all of my Patreon supporters. You guys mean the world to me. It is so humbling that folks would be willing to donate their hard-earned money to help keep this crazy mofo doing what I do. Anyway, with all of this absolutely insane rambling out of the way, let's jump right into today's video, looking at the Guristas Pirates Gila. Seriously, what's wrong with me today? I've been showcasing Class 3 ratting quite a lot recently, and I've had a lot of people DM me, like a lot of people DM me and say, why aren't you using the Gila? Like, a Gila is cheaper than these Tech 3 cruisers that you're showcasing, but it does the same thing and arguably better in certain cases, and to that I say, it's because I really like the C3s. I just enjoy flying those ships. I want to get to know them even better so I can start PvPing with them. I just really like them, and I've already had a Gila sitting in a hangar in high-sec for a long time. I used to run abyssal dead spaces with this thing, and I just kind of lost interest in it. Like, I love the Guristas pirates, don't get me wrong. I love the Worm, I love the Gila, I love the Rattlesnake. They're three ships that I have all the time in the day for. But I just kind of got bored of running abyssal dead spaces in this, and I just kind of got bored with the ship. But I sat down, I did some research, and this is a fit that's recommended, and having run through every single Class 3 combat site that can spawn multiple times, I'm happy to report that this works really, really well. And definitely, if you don't want to go for a Tech 3 strategic cruiser, this is probably your next best bet for wormhole life in the lower classes. That said, Gallente Cruiser 5 and Caldari Cruiser 5, you need both of those skills right in order to maximize this. You'll find that actually taking a Tengu or a Proteus all the way to 5 in all of its subsystems takes about the same time, if not slightly less. The only time that a Tech 3 cruiser goes above the Gila in its SP requirements, I think, is when you really start cranking into the Gallente or Caldari strategic cruiser skill, which, as I've mentioned in those videos, I don't personally view as important. But I'm now rambling off to the side. You guys are here to see this fit, for me to showcase what it does, how it does it, and then see it in action. So the fit itself is completely 100% cap stable. I don't think I've got any other ship out there that is 100% cap stable like this. And this is of course because it doesn't have a single active module fitted. If you look around the fitting screen there, the only thing lit up in green are the high slots, which are missiles which don't use capacitor. There is no capacitor here. We do not care if something comes along and slams us with every single neutralizer under the sun. It doesn't affect us. We've got solid EHP here, 49,773. That's right up there with the Drake. That is a decent sized tank with a 195 hit points per second recharge speed. Now, if you put this into Pythor, I have got this fit shown in the description down below, so you can copy it through. Pythor will give you a different number there, and a lot of people ask me, why is that? It's because basically here in the in-game fitting, that 195 hit points per second is just the actual amount of hit points that the shield recharges, whereas Pythor also accounts for your resistances and therefore gives you essentially what those hit points are worth, in inverted commas, so it gives you a bigger number, but these are the actual amount of HP that comes back per second. Pythor then just, accounts for what those are worth because of your resistance profile. Anyway, really good defenses. Hit points, DPS on the other hand, 587.2 DPS coming out of the high slots, and from the drones, 412 DPS. That is just shy of 1000 DPS. That is not bad at all for a cruiser that is just under 500 million in ISK. Little bit on the pricey side if you're just getting started, but certainly an excellent ship to start to aim for. I'm sure if you do go into the sort of secondary and support skills for drones and missiles, you'll probably actually push over that 1000, but I tend to stop at 4 on the support skills because I've got so much other stuff that I want to train to showcase in videos. But anyway, let's talk about the actual fit itself. I've rambled on enough about this. High slots, Rapid Light Missile Launcher 2s. We know that the Gila has bonuses to missiles. It should be noted that those bonuses are specifically to kinetic and thermal missiles. Therefore, we want to be using Scourge missiles or Inferno missiles. It's kind of pointless using Mjolnir or Nova, except outside of some niche PvP situations, but for PvE, especially since we're going into C3 ratting sites and the sleepers there all have Omni resists, you want to be going for the one you get the damage bonus to, right? It kind of makes sense. So Caldari Navy, Scourge light missiles I'm using, but you could also use Caldari Navy, Inferno light missiles. You can go for the Tech 2 variants, and that will give you the option of Precision or Fury for going for a little bit shorter range, better application, higher damage, that kind of thing. I like to keep this stupidly simple these days, so I just go with Caldari Navy Scourge light missiles and throw a whole ton of them in the cargo hold and just rat to my heart's content. But again, Infernos do work well. 37 meters flight range from that, pretty happy days. The second high slot you'll see is a Drone Link Augmentor. Yep, more damage for your drones. Cool, more range for your drones in this case, sorry. Pretty good, nice and easy. You can upgrade that to a Tech 2. I just have Tech 1 lying around. I've got a bit more power grid and CPU than I originally had when I picked this thing up. The mid slots, oh, would you look at that? Large Shield Extender 2, Large Shield Extender 2, Caldari Navy Large Shield Extender, and a Caldari Navy Large Shield Extender, just because I couldn't fit 4 Caldari Navy Large Shield Extenders, so I just went for the 2s, and that's how we get this whopping great big number here. Then finally at the bottom here, a Pithum C-type electromagnetic shield amplifier and a Pithum C-type thermal shield amplifier, just to get those resistance holes nice and plugged, so that when this thing takes a hit from something like a sleepless escort using its electromagnetic and thermal laser beam turret thing, we don't just get wrecked in 2 shots. Finally then, the low slots here, 2 Shield Power Relay 2s, and a Drone Damage Amplifier 2. Basically, everything on this ship, module-wise, is geared around either improving the damage of the drones, or just making it so that you never have to press a button in order to stay alive. The rigs also back this up. We've got a medium core defense field Purger 2, a medium core defense field Purger 2, and a medium core defense field Purger 2, in order to just increase the amount of EHP per second we get back from the shield recharging. It's really that simple. Maximum amounts of shield restoration after we've plugged the resistance hole to a satisfactory degree, and then everything else is just drone damage, drone range, and the missiles that we're going to be throwing at things. It is a dead simple fit. There is nothing at all complex about this. And that carries on into the combat demonstration as well. Goodness me, this is not a difficult ship. It is surprisingly straightforward. I should mention before we go through, though, drones as well. I run 2 of everything. I tend to use the electromagnetic, the Amarian drones, just out of habit, or Minmatar Republic, is it Warriors? Is it Warriors? I can never remember if it's Warriors or... The drone names confuse me, alright? It is Valkyries. Valkyries, of course it's Valkyries. Valkyries, Hammerheads, Infiltrators, and Vespas. And you'll see that I tend to use the Infiltrators on this. I've got 4 of them already fitted, but there we go. Go with the Tech 2 variants. You can go with the Navy versions as well. Tech 2 do really well. Navy versions have slightly more hit points and slightly more tracking. It doesn't really make that much of a difference, and they do cost a lot more, so bear that in mind. Anyway, all that said and done, let's jump into an actual demonstration of this bad boy. Or bad girl, you know, I'm not going to judge either way. It could be male, could be female, it could be anything. It's a ship. The idea that ships are all female is not actually technically accurate through human history, but hey, that's another topic for another time. Anyway, we are in a fortification frontier stronghold, because of course we are. This gives you the nice easy comparison with the Tech 3 strategic cruisers, because it's the exact same anomaly I use every time for this demonstration, so that you can put them side by side. I'm assuming you've watched those, but if you haven't, a brief rundown on my basic protocol, my MO, I guess you could call it, when I arrive into one of these sites is to immediately drop a mobile tractor unit, bookmark the MTU so that I can come back to it later if I need to, and then begin. In this case, the begin part of that is to launch my drones, lock onto everything, start shooting the frigates first, and basically then orbit the MTU at 1,000 kilometers. Ultimately, I'm orbiting just to reduce the incoming damage a teeny tiny itty bitty little bit. It doesn't do much. You can just park stationary for the first couple of waves of a fortification frontier stronghold, but there we go. Now, the first wave of this particular anomaly, I've mentioned before, has 2 Awakened Defenders. These are cruisers, straight up DPS, nice and straightforward, and 2 Awakened Escorts, I think they are, or I've forgotten what they are. You can scroll back in the video and check the name of them. They're frigates. They're frigates that web, and ultimately, they are the ones you should be killing first, because killing the Awakened Defenders will spawn Wave 2 the second that the second Awakened Defender dies. Wow, 2 seconds with different meanings in the same sentence. That threw me for a second. A third one. So anyway, we are going to go through these Awakened Defenders now. I'm going to let my drones do their thing. You'll have seen how quickly those 2 frigates went down. Ultimately, application on frigates is really good because we're using rapid light missile launchers, right? They're small missiles. They apply to their target really nicely. Should be noted as well that those do absolute mad amounts of damage in Wolf Riots, but you wouldn't take this into a Wolf Riot because we're shield tanked and Wolf Riots halve your armor resistances. I'm losing it in this, I swear. But anyway, we're now coming towards the end of the first wave, and we kind of see the first problem that I personally have with this fit. Like, it works exceptionally, don't get me wrong, it really works exceptionally. It does get some surprisingly good clear times as well. The drones kind of do their own thing. You should be aware that the drones might start attacking something that could be a trigger that you don't want to die early, so do keep an eye on your drones. Don't let them accidentally trigger a wave early just because you're being careless. Now, the problem I am referring to is that rapid light missile launchers have the world's worst reload time. 20 charges, and then they have to reload for how long? Like, who decided that that was a good idea? Like, genuinely, give them more charges. Just 20 charges and then that huge reload. I'm not going to sit here and talk about balance. I'm sure there's a reason that it is that way and, you know, done that way, but there we go. Anyway, here on screen you're seeing that I didn't actually bookmark the MTU originally, which is bad Benzie. Absolutely, you should do that. But with the end of the first wave, Wave 2 spawns 2 more Awakened Defenders, standard DPS cruisers, but this time they are bolstered by 2 of these nasties called Awakened Upholders. Awakened Upholders are cruisers that have neutralizers and webs. So with 2 of those alive, you've got 2 webs and 2 neutralizers on you. Now, the neutralizers, honestly, we don't care about. If this ship runs completely cap dry, oh well, we don't have a single active module that requires capacitor. But the webs do kind of sting a little bit. They do slow us down and means we take a bit more damage than we would otherwise. It's not an ideal circumstance, but it is what it is. So surely we just kill the Awakened Upholders, right? No. the Awakened Upholders also happen to be the triggers for Wave 3, so if you prioritize those and go for both of them immediately, you're going to spawn Wave 3 whilst you still have 2 Awakened Defenders from Wave 2 alive, and that really hurts. As someone who has done that in the past accidentally, learn from my mistakes, be a better person, and kill the Awakened Defenders before the second Upholder. Kill one of the Upholders, absolutely, be my guest. That's a good idea, because you take one of the neutralizers and one of the webs off you. That's always nice. Then we're going to go back, take out the 2 Awakened Defenders, and then work on the second Upholder and spawn in Wave 3. Of course, constantly descanning just to make sure that no one's going, ooh, a healer, they're pretty, exciting targets to shoot, and trying to jump in on you. So descan to your heart's content and try and stay safe out there, folks. As we come now to the end of the second wave, things get spicy. The third wave in this has a Sleepless Upholder battleship that neutralizes and does insane amounts of damage. We have a couple of Awakened Defenders just like before. We have another one of those pesky Awakened Upholders that's going to try and Newton web us, and we have an Awakened Preserver, which is a remote rep ship that will continue to rep the other sleepers around it until you deal with it. Now, first things first, let's get rid of that Awakened Upholder, because again, they are nasty. Webs and newts are not fun. Newts are not a problem in this ship at all, but the webs are. We want that thing dead to get that web off us. Now, because we're at a decent amount of range as well, 40 odd kilometers away from that Sleepless Upholder, we have very low traversal, which means that Sleepless Upholder with its big badass beam of badassitude, whatever, that big beam that it does, it's insane amounts of electromagnetic and thermal damage. If you just park still in this wave, your tank will not keep up. You can go for the Sleepless Upholder first and try to burn it down before it completely wrecks you, or you can just fly in a straight line past the group. Like, literally, at this point, I've just kind of double-clicked in space, or do the Q-drag, or whatever, however you want to manually pilot, in a straight line to keep my traversal up against that Sleepless Upholder. Literally, the Sleepless Upholder is the only thing we really care about at this point. That is what is going to do damage to us. Sorry, Logan, I'll speak to you later when I'm not recording. But otherwise, yeah, we're going to just start thinning the crowd a little bit here. You can go for the Sleepless Upholder, but you can kind of see the damage that I'm doing to it isn't particularly great, so I'd rather try and cut some of the DPS out from the easier targets. There's 2 schools of thought here, and genuinely, let me know in the comment section down below which you agree with more. You could go for the big target, because you've got 4 ships shooting at you, right? 4 ships currently shooting at you. One of them has a lot of HP and is doing a lot of damage. 3 of them have a lot less HP, but are doing a lot less damage. You can either take out the weak ones first and reduce their little bits of damage, but reduce them quickly because those ships die faster, or you can go straight for the battleship, and it's going to take longer to kill, but you get a larger amount of DPS reduction, incoming DPS reduction, when you take it out, right? Those are the 2 schools of thought. For me, I tend to go for the smaller steps, because in my mind, I could be taking, say, 130% of the damage that I can tank. Therefore, killing 1 cruiser might be enough to push it back down into what I can actually tank. But if I go for the battleship and try to, kill that quickly first to do the big reduction, I might end up losing the tank first. I may run out of shield before it runs out of health and dies. And it kind of works in this situation. You can see my tank is just about holding. It's screaming in my ear that horrific noise that your shields are running low. Yes, I know you can technically turn it off, but why would I ever do that? I like being screamed at. It's just how I am. Why am I saying these things? Ultimately, I like the alert. Genuinely, I do like the alert to let me know that I am running low. But now that that first Awakened Defender is dead, I'm not going down quite as fast. So, the theory's working. Now, interestingly enough, I started to shoot the Awakened Defender at this point in time. My drones had other ideas. They've gone after the Awakened Preserver, and at this point, I can't be bothered to correct them. So I'm just going to let it take down both of them and see how they compare. And ultimately, these ships do have different EHP, so it's a completely unfair test. My old physics tutor would be, I would say, spitting in his grave, but I don't think he's dead. He was pretty young at the time, so unless something dramatic happened, he's probably still alive out there. But hey, again, I'm just losing my mind in this video. But hey, at this point, the drones are doing more damage despite being technically lower DPS according to the fitting screen. That is, of course, because the cruiser that they're shooting has less total hit points. But with that dead, off we can go and kill the awakened defender, and you'll see that the tank is now actually regenerating. We are now taking less damage than we are regenerating, so my shields are gradually refilling, and that is with me sitting at a sweet blissful 0 capacitor. All those pretty orange lights in your HUD, all missing at this point in time, but there we go. And here we go, the final few hits against the Sleepless Upholder, ending this Fortification Frontier stronghold. Did I need to show that final little ship exploding? No. No, I really didn't. They're just pretty explosions, and I enjoy them. And I kind of want to prove that, yeah, this did it all the way through to the end. And look at the shield, we're nice and, you know, topped up at this point. Still descanning, because someone could be trying to jump in now. People will often bring a cloaked ship in, sit in your anomaly, wait for you to finish the anomaly so all the sleepers are dead, then they will decloak and scram you and warp their friends in and all this kind of thing. So you're not safe yet. I'm pulling the drones back, continually descanning. I'm going to reload as I warp away, and off we go. So at this point I would consider sort of grabbing screenshots and things, but we're going to warp away. Once I've warped away out to a safe point in the distance, usually like a wormhole or a celestial or whatever I happen to have bookmarked, we then turn around and warp back in using that mobile tractor unit bookmark that we definitely remembered to do earlier, didn't we? Yes, Benzie, we remembered to bookmark it because you keep telling us it's important and we're not idiots. Good. Glad we got that cleared. So now I'm going to turn around, jump back in on that mobile tractor unit, grab my loot, and head home. And honestly, with how I'm feeling recording this right now, I have no idea. This is literally, my brain in this video is like a tapestry with angry kittens unpicking it. I have no idea what's going on. If you found this funny, I promise you, I wasn't even trying to be funny. I didn't wake up, hit the record button and go, you know what, let's try and make this a joke episode. Just, that's where my brain's gone for some reason. Yeah, maybe I should, you know, talk to someone about that. I don't know. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, please do let me know, comment down below, hit subscribe for more stuff like this. If you want to try this fit out, it's down there in the description. You can drag it into Python, you can drag it into game, you can buy it, you can do whatever the hell you want with it. Otherwise, come join me on Discord, let me know how you feel, and let's chat. Otherwise, happy sailing, and see you in New Eden!